What is the most disturbing fact you know of? Fact 1. Ghislaine Maxwell was found guilty of selling underage children to be raped, but they won't release the list of clients guilty of paying for it. Fact 2. 30% of people reported missing and found dead were killed by the person reporting them missing. Fact 3. If you get the wrong blood type for a transfusion, one of the symptoms is a sense of impending doom. Fact 4. The effects that trauma have on development are chilling. Trauma completely rewires the brain and makes everything from forming attachment to problem solving more difficult. Intervention and treatment can bring about great healing, although it is often a difficult and long road. Fact 5. Bacteria antibiotic resistance is on a whole other level. Even in the 13 years I've been in a medical microbiology lab, antibiotic resistance has really become rampant. It's not going to stop either. The bacteria multiply and evolve so quickly that even the most effective bombacillins will become obsolete. We are going to reach a breaking point where even things like a simple cut or a sinus infection could become life-threatening. Don't take antibiotics like AZ Pack for a cold. It's most likely viral and the antibiotics are just superfluous. If you are prescribed antibiotics, finish them. Fact 6. Romans around 100 BC who had been found guilty of patricide were sewn into leather bags with one live dog, snake, monkey, and chicken each, then thrown into the ocean. This was known as ponacule, which is Latin for penalty of the sack. Fact 7. In the 1980s, Bayer, the pharmaceutical company, created a hemophilia drug using human blood. The blood they used to create it was tainted with HIV, meaning it could transmit the virus to patients that use it. Bayer decided that destroying the drugs would be too financially damaging and instead distributed the drugs to developing countries in Asia and South America, infecting tens of thousands of patients with HIV. They settled for 600 meters, which gave each patient approximately $100,000. $100K for being infected with HIV. Fact 8. I saw this old video comparing 1-year-olds and how they reacted to their environment, specifically toys laid out in front of them. The kids that had been in happy and stable homes were curious about the toys and would play with them, put them in their mouths, general baby stuff. But the ones that were in unstable, unhappy homes were scared to even touch the toys and kept looking around with worried facial expressions. It was heartbreaking to see the difference, and it really shows that the home you grow up in has a huge impact on your life. Fact 9. During the late Roman Republic, one of the richest men in Rome, Marcus Licinius Crassus, used to own a team of firefighters. There was no dedicated firefighter service at the time. If your building was burning, he would offer to buy the building. If you agreed, he put out the fire. If not, his team of firefighters just left and let the building burn. Fact 10. USA and Belgium had human zoos. Fact 11. When you're burning to death, your eyes melt out of your head before you die. So you're still alive while your eyes are melting. Fact 12. Read a story in an old newspaper once about this girl, 12, who was asking for money to do a surgery. She was the only survivor of a shipwreck and lost a good chunk of her leg in it. That is why she needed the surgery, to be able to keep her leg from being amputated. The crazy thing is the motive for her leg to be amputated. During the rescue, she shouted for the rescuers to be careful pulling her up from the water because a fish had bitten her on the leg. It wasn't a fish, it was another little girl, 6 years old, dead, still attached to her leg by the nails. Fact 12. In 1859, the Carrington event happened. This was a massive solar flare that caused sparks and fires from telegraph systems and made the night sky so bright birds began signing and gold miners started prepping breakfast because they thought it was morning. Skies all over the planet erupted in red, green, and purple auroras so bright that one could read the newspaper as if it were daylight. For the people of the time, the telegraph shocks, sparks, and fires were the extent of the damage. However, we now live in an age dependent on electricity and digital things, and if the same level of flare were to happen today, the world would simultaneously lose GPS, cell networks, and most of the power grid. Every airplane in the sky would need to coordinate a mass grounding without satellite guidance. Most likely the only way most of us would figure out what happened would be the newspaper the next day. This would be a WMD-level event happened across the entire planet. Any astronauts who might be spacewalking would be in trouble, and even in the ISS, NASA only says they probably have adequate shielding inside, but would have precious little time to get inside. The best NASA estimates are this would cost humanity $1 to $2 trillion in the first year alone, and would likely take 4 to 10 years to fully recover from the damages. Included in this would be replacing many satellites that would be fried. Luckily, every part of the sun is being constantly watched by scientists, so we would see it coming, but we would have only a few minutes of warning from the moment the flare happens to when it hits our planet.